With us now is Mark Langfan, and no, he is not a chef, and this is not cookie dough. It's not a cooking segment, mind you. Mark is here because he has made a very significant model of the northern part of Israel, and he's here to tell us about it and why it is so important. Mark, tell us a bit about the model.
Well, I wanted to create a visual aid so people could understand the geographic and strategic problems that face Israel in the construction of a durable and lasting peace.
Why aren't there already models that show Israel? Why did you need to make this model?
Well, I brought this to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, and they do have a topological model now, but the topological model they have is really, while it's the same size of this, it is just, it's the entire country of Israel, so you really don't get the flavor of what the terrain looks like, and it's almost unintelligible.
So this is the first model that actually shows the true topography of Israel? It's never been done before?
There are models that have been made, but they don't really, they're highly exaggerated, and you really don't get the true feeling of the terrain and the topography.
Now, you are a lawyer by trade.
Yes, I am.
A lawyer and a topographer by evening.
No, well, I'm not a topographer by evening. I commissioned, I'm a Jewish American, and I'm concerned about the state of Israel, and I commissioned a professional military model maker to make the model, and he made it.
And how long does it take to make something like this?
Well, it took him a fair amount of time. It took him a couple of months to make it.
All right, let's take a look at it, and you can explain it to us.
Okay. First, I'd like to explain, give a little example of the Golan Heights. Now, this is the north of Israel, and this is the Golan Heights. Now, the Golan Heights is really a mountain range, and Syria is on the other side. And essentially what the Golan Heights does is it acts as a wall against a possible Syrian attack against this area right here. Now, this area right here, can I borrow the pen?
Sure.
Thank you. This area right here is a major Israeli civilian population, which is threatened by an attack by Syria into this area. So what this does is it gives you a real feeling for how the Golan Heights protects this area, civilian area, from a Syrian attack.
Now, many people who are watching this are saying this is very interesting, but is this model so important? I find it hard to believe, as I'm sure many viewers do, that there is not currently a model that is just as accurate as this.
Nope. I've done a lot of research, and I've been to the Israeli government on this, and they don't have anything as accurately depicting the terrain.
All right, explain it a bit more for us.
Okay. Well, the question is always, it is now raised in terms of the Gulf War, in that if in the age of missiles, what's the worth of terrain? Well, the Golan Heights is one classic example of how terrain is very important. Because in the Yom Kippur War, what happened is that the Syrians attacked the northern part of Israel. Now, Israel has a very small standing army. And what happened was the Israeli soldiers held off the Syrians by using the Golan Heights to stop the attack. And that gave time to mobilize the bulk of Israel's military from the Tel Aviv-Netanya area, where there are a large number of reservists, to go to the Golan Heights to protect, to mass the army and to protect against the Syrians. Now, in a case of the next war, the real lessons of the Scuds are are going to be coming over and hitting Tel Aviv as the Syrians are advancing. So what's going to happen is the Scuds are going to essentially kill Israel's ability to mobilize. And what then will happen, can you imagine being a soldier in the Israeli military, and you're in your sealed room, and then you've just been called off to battle? What do? You can imagine how difficult it would be to mobilize Israel's reserve, which it relies on for the bulk of its strength.
So this area bides more time.
This area bides the time needed to get the soldiers from here to here. to defend against the attack. Exactly.
What are some other military significances of this?
Well, in the West Bank, you can immediately see, normally the West Bank is considered, Americans just consider the West Bank as a sort of an amorphous term. But the West Bank is really a mountain range. And just like the Golan Heights protects against an attack from Syria, the West Bank is a mountain range that protects against an attack from the east, whoever it may be. And so that is one of the aspects. And on the model, you can actually physically see the terrain, and you can get a feeling for the value.
What are these red lines?
That's a very good question. These red lines are the roads that over time have been created, and you can actually see where the roads are from the lay of the land. You can see that there are, this is the mountain range right here, and there are only a limited number of roads that come up and through this terrain. The importance is that if this area is attacked, a tank can't come up a million different ways. A tank can only come up 3 or 4 different ways. And with the 3 or 4 different ways, the Israelis know that the tanks can only come up these 3 or 4 different ways. And therefore they can, with a small standing army, which again, it's critical. Israel has a very, very small standing army to normally hold off an attack till the reserves are able to be mobilized to bring it to a head.
Why does Israel have to maintain a security zone in South Lebanon?
Excellent question. I'd like the threats I've just been describing, the strategic threat of war from Syria, the strategic threat from the east, those are strategic war threats. The threat from Lebanon is not a strategic threat. The threat from Lebanon is a terror threat. And there are terrorists in South Lebanon who constantly infiltrate into Israel and also fire what's called a Katusha rocket. And on the screen there's a picture of a Katusha rocket. Now, it's very important that you look at this Katusha rocket and understand the power of it. First of all, as you can see, it's a truck and it's highly mobile. Second of all, each of those missiles, on the tip, that's a warhead. And essentially, each warhead is 42 pounds. And when you multiply, these Katyushas are usually fired in series of 10, 20, or 30. On this truck, it happens to be 40. But just assuming 30 are fired at one time, the Scuds that came over to give you a sense of the power of the Katusha, one Scud missile was 300 pounds of warhead. Here, if you multiply 42 pounds times each of those warheads, times 30 missiles, that's 1,200 pounds of warhead, which equates to 4 times the strength of one Scud. And these things are now being fired into Israel. Now,
Mark, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue discussing this model of northern Israel. We're going to speak now about airspace around Israel. But first, before we speak about it concerning this model, let's take a look at a clip that we have.
The whole of Israel.
We are in Tel Aviv. Imagine an aircraft taking off from Damascus in the north or from Mafraq Air Base in Jordan in the east. Minutes flying time from Israel's border. Until it reaches our border, it's anyone's guess whether that aircraft is on a routine mission, on a training flight, or whether it's hostile. We cannot react. But once it crosses our border, a countdown begins. In less than 60 seconds, the capital, Jerusalem, is under attack. 40 seconds later, Ben Gurion Airport, our lifeline with the outside world.